Yeah, well, I think that's for the most part kind of a quality a lot of Texans period have across the board. You know, there's a pride obviously from where we're from and the history that of the people of this state. But there's a real, and this happens all over the country. We just happen to be in it, you know, ensconced in it, so we can. So to speak about it is pretty easy. But there's a very big do-it-yourself attitude, and there's a very big put your middle finger in the air because this is what I got going on, and screw you, I'm going to succeed kind of vibe, you know, from a lot of people in this scene, right, or whatever. And I feel the exact same way. I've mellowed over the years. I was more of a dick about it when I started out, you know, very much more like, I'm gonna take over the world, you know, I'm from Texas, whatever, and that's just ridiculous. And as you grow up, you kind of change, you know. But yeah, the scene, because the scene can live on its own without anybody else's help. I don't, you know, like we're gonna take our first West Coast trip here in a couple weeks. Touring trip. We've gone everywhere else except there. So we're going up to Vegas and Arizona and all these places. It's gonna be fun. But if I wanted to just stay and say Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas area, region, Louisiana, I can make a pretty good living and just do that. You know, there's something about that you see so many other good bands struggle. And I mean, just out in the world, you know. The fact that we can do this kind of, and we're real self-sustaining is really cool. Now, granted, if I did want to do that, then other than through the internet, maybe nobody would ever be able to see our live show and ever be a part of it or be welcomed into the fold, you know? So we get out there and we bust our ass and we try to go to as many places as we can, and, you know, just hustle. But it's a pretty cool thing to know that you're kind of not alone in this, you know, in this, I keep saying scene, but I don't even know that you can define it really what it is. And it's got so many names, I don't know. There's, you know, people in this scene that are country as hell. And there's people that are just rock and rollers, you know what I mean? I like to kind of, hopefully that I'm kind of on the line, because that's what I find interesting in terms of music. But that's the kind of the point, is that you can get 10 bands together that all have known each other for years, and in a lot of ways play to the same audience, and in some ways obviously play to different audiences, but they're all here, you know, and you got a lot of really talented guys coming out of Oklahoma, and have been for a while. So when it used to be just called Texas country or whatever, for lack of a better term, I think, even before I got into it, it now has morphed into red dirt, because, you know, you had some really talented people in Oklahoma, you know, we all became friends with, and they were just kicking ass and taking names. But you know, I was kind of raised on, you know, the Lyle Lovett and Robert O'Keens and the lineage there, and the Guy Clarks, and Joe Ely's and Willie Nelson's. That's a pretty high standard, you know what I mean? But that's the kind of fun in doing it, you know. It's a challenge, and man, those guys are good, you know. And I'm just glad. You know, it's like your favorite football team or whatever. You know, I'm glad that I'm from where they're from, and that maybe there's something in the water. I doubt it, you know, because there's a lot of bad bands down here too. But I don't know. It's a universal thing. It's like people all over the world know the Alamo is or whatever. It's weird we'll go out to some joint in Michigan or whatever, and people will show up because they're into this scene of music, you know, whether they got it from the internet or if a band that was in the scene came before us, you know, whatever. Maybe was wearing one of our T-shirts on stage that are, you know, friends of ours. So people feel really connected to it, you know. It's not necessarily just like going to see, I don't know, name a huge international band. They really feel like, the crowd really feels like they're a part of it, and they are. They're absolutely the reason why that any of us can pay our bills. So it's an amazing thing to not only be from this state, but to run around in this scene. It's a lot of fun.